Earlier this morning, cyclists zipped their way up to the State House lawn in an effort to encourage lawmakers to prioritize cyclist safety on Michigan roads. These cyclists are now meeting one-on-one with legislators as part of Bike and Trail Advocacy Day. The annual event is organized by the statewide nonprofit, the League of Michigan Bicyclists. The group is pushing for action on 4 safety goals this year, and some lawmakers have already responded by introducing several bills. David Horak explains where those bills currently stand and why the advocacy group believes they'll make a difference.
For context, the group helped pass the state's distracted driving and safe passing laws over the last few years. This year, they're seeking tax incentives for trail land donations, updates to laws addressing dooring and bike lane parking, and new ones that would further protect what are called vulnerable roadway users, or VRUs. These are people traveling outside motor vehicles who face greater risks on the road, such as pedestrians, wheelchair users, buggy riders, and of course cyclists. Whenever someone in that category is seriously hurt or killed by a motor vehicle in Michigan, the driver is often charged with moving violation causing death. And currently, state law has that as a misdemeanor with a maximum of 1 year in jail.
The driver more than likely is going to be back on the road, operating their motor vehicle and living their life to some extent as normal as the day prior to the crash. The family, on the other hand, will be left picking up the pieces of this crash for sometimes decades.
Now, there are some exceptions, like the deadly Make-A-Wish bike ride crash near Ionia back in 2022. And in that case, the driver, who was high on drugs, was found guilty of second-degree murder and given a minimum 70-year prison sentence. But the League of Michigan Bicyclists say there's currently no middle ground between the misdemeanor and second-degree murder. However, legislation backed by them and lawmakers on both sides of the aisle would introduce new felony charges with penalties up to 10 years in prison or $7,500 in fines for deadly crashes and up to 5 years or $5,000 for serious injuries. Advocates explain that this would provide a middle ground for prosecutors.
What you have is a misdemeanor and second-degree murder, and there's nothing in between. So what generally ends up happening is, unless there's all this evidence and we can meet all of the requirements for second-degree murder, it falls directly back to the misdemeanor. So you have a super easy charge and a super hard one, and nothing in between that kind of closes the gap. And that's what these bills would do if signed into law.
So if this legislation passes, Michigan would join 12 other states that have enacted similar laws. However, they need to be advanced out of their respective committees first to be taken up for a vote. In studio, David Horak, News 8.